SKOL Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fans, get ready for the latest updates straight out of Minnesota. The mood in Minnesota has turned heavy. The roster is banged up, and after mounting pressure, Kevin O'Connell finally had to open up about the real status of three key players. Meanwhile, a familiar name to Brian Flores is now on the radar for a possible signing. Another unexpected name has landed in the center of a hot trade rumor, and the last story hits right at the heart of every Vikings fan's pride. But before we break it all down, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it helps strengthen this amazing purple community that never turns its back on the team. Smash that like button too, because it helps YouTube show this video to more Vikings fans around the world. And drop a comment, because this space belongs to the entire Vikings nation. Kevin O'Connell finally delivered an important update on the Vikings injury situation, and fans are split between relief and worry. To be honest with you, this team is hanging together with duct tape right now. Ryan Kelly remains on injured reserve, and the offensive line has turned into a real puzzle. The absence of Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill against the Chargers showed just how much this offense depends on those guys to stay alive. O'Connell said he feels positive about where they are, but fans have learned how to translate that kind of talk. O'Neill is still recovering from an MCL sprain, and Darrisaw, after that brutal knee surgery last year, is still dealing with instability. He tried to play in Los Angeles, but couldn't last more than 10 snaps. The hope is that these 9 full days off before facing the Lions will help their bodies respond better. O'Connell emphasized that he wants to get back to a regular Sunday-to-Sunday rhythm, no long trips or short weeks. He believes that routine could help the starters stabilize, and honestly, everyone hopes he's right. As for Andrew Van Ginkel, his situation feels like deja vu for the defense. The guy was an all-pro last season and a key part of Flores' system, but this year has been a nightmare. A concussion, then a neck issue, and the defense has clearly missed his spark. Flores knows exactly what Van Ginkel brings, especially in his hybrid role that mixes pass rush and coverage. He said he's encouraged by what he's seen in limited practices, but still doesn't have a clear return date. The dilemma is obvious. Minnesota needs all these guys healthy to even dream of competing in Detroit. Facing the 5-2 Lions with McCarthy returning was already going to be tough, but without protection, it's almost suicidal. O'Connell keeps preaching calm, but you can feel the fans' patience wearing thin. My honest take? If Darrisaw and O'Neill aren't ready, the offense is in trouble. If Van Ginkel doesn't come back, the defense loses its soul. And for those who've followed this team for decades, this feels like a familiar Purple Faithful storyline, full of hope, anxiety, and a long wait for Sunday. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think they'll be back in time? Because what comes next might just shift the season's direction. This one caught a lot of people off guard. Christian Wilkins, yes, the same player who signed that $110 million deal with the Raiders, was released after a major dispute over his foot injury treatment. And guess who's now keeping tabs on him? Brian Flores. Honestly, this has all the makings of a reunion that fits perfectly for Minnesota. Flores drafted Wilkins back in Miami in 2019 and always praised his energy and leadership. They've got real history. Flores knows exactly who he is. Intense, passionate, and a total competitor. And right now, with Minnesota's defensive line mixing aging veterans and raw young players, Wilkins would fit like a glove. It's a tricky situation, though, because his big money deal is gone after that release. The Raiders voided roughly $35 million in guarantees, meaning he needs a fresh start, and Flores' system might be the best place for him to rebuild fast. Local sources in Minnesota have even floated the idea of a 1-year, low-cost, prove-it deal, and honestly, that would be a steal. The Vikings spent heavily on defense this offseason, but they still lack that true interior force that scares opponents. Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave were brought in to help but are feeling their age. Harrison Phillips provides leadership but has battled durability issues. And the younger guys like Jalen Redmond and Andre Carter, too, are still learning the ropes. Wilkins brings exactly what's missing: strength, youth, and a different kind of energy. Most importantly, he already knows Flores' system. No need for translation or adjustment. He'd arrive ready to go and would likely elevate everyone around him. Of course, there's the other side. Wilkins might not accept a low deal after losing so much money, or he could prefer a quieter market. But that bond with Flores carries weight, and if the defensive coordinator makes the call, the front office will listen. For fans, it would be that surprise move that reignites belief, a classic Flores special, as people are calling it. Stay tuned, because if this deal picks up steam, the impact could be immediate. And if you think this is wild, wait till you hear what's going on with TJ Hawkinson. That one involves trade talks, tension, and a sense of urgency in the locker room. All right, brace yourself for this one, because the latest rumor hits the offense right where it hurts. TJ Hockenson could be on his way out. That's right. The tight end who was supposed to be a cornerstone of this offense is now at the center of serious trade chatter, and the Denver Broncos are leading the pursuit. To be honest, this story is heating up fast behind the scenes. The situation is clear. Minnesota sits at 3-4, still alive in the division but with more questions than answers. As McCarthy tries to prove himself as the franchise quarterback, the team has to decide whether to push for a playoff run or sell at the trade deadline. And if they choose to sell, Hockenson instantly becomes one of their most valuable assets. The problem is that fans still see Hawk as a symbol of this offense, and trading him now would basically admit that the season has shifted into rebuild mode. But looking at it objectively, it makes sense. He's expensive, he has value, and the team needs flexibility for the future. The Broncos, sitting at 5-2, view themselves as contenders. Sean Payton wants to give Bo Nix more weapons, and Hockenson would be a perfect fit for his multi-tight end offense. Reports out of Denver suggest they're willing to pay a premium. And honestly, that's tough to turn down given the current state of the Vikings. With the O-line hurting and the defense hanging on, sometimes moving a star is the price of rebuilding the right way. Emotionally, though, it stings. Hockenson earned fans' trust quickly, one of the few consistent performers amid the chaos. And what makes it worse is his connection with McCarthy. They built chemistry early before the rookie got hurt. Breaking that up now could crush the offense's morale. And no one really knows what general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah will do. He's bold with trades but understands locker room balance. A win over the Lions could change everything. A loss could push the seller button. What I feel, and I think many in the Purple Faithful do too, is that Hockenson's fate will define the direction of this season. Trading him now would send a clear message. The future matters more than the present. Drop your take in the comments. Would you move him or keep him through the year? Because what's coming next might hit even harder. Things just keep piling up in Minnesota. On top of the losses, now comes a fine from the NFL. Linebacker Ivan Pace Jr. was hit with a $5,759 penalty for unnecessary roughness against the Eagles. Not exactly a backbreaker financially, but the timing hurts. To be honest, this is the kind of story fans are tired of hearing. The hit came late in the fourth quarter, and while it wasn't egregious, it symbolized frustration boiling over. The NFL flagged it, and now it's another headache during an already rough stretch. O'Connell didn't sugarcoat anything after the game. "We got outplayed in every way," he said. No excuses, no dressing it up. He admitted the team was outcoached, out-executed, and far below Viking standards. Fans respect that accountability, but they're desperate to see actual change on the field. Carson Wentz kept his composure, talking about resilience and confidence, the usual veteran stuff, but you can see this team wearing down. He talked about turning the page and attacking next week, but the clock's ticking. Facing the Lions isn't just another matchup, it's a season crossroads. The roster looks drained, physically and mentally. A brutal schedule, quick turnarounds, fan pressure, it's all pushing this group to the edge. The locker room still seems unified, with Wentz praising the effort and O'Connell insisting no one will hide, but there's a clear gap between words and execution. What really worries fans is the sense of déjà vu, the same mistakes, the same inconsistency, and that eternal hope pushed to next week. The fine on Pace might seem small, but it sums up the current chaos, a team struggling to find itself in the storm. And if the Lions game doesn't mark a turnaround, patience could finally run out, because what comes next? That one cuts deep. It's about what people outside Minnesota are saying, and it's not pretty for those who still defend the North. After getting blown out by the Chargers, the next punch came from the media. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky didn't hold back, calling the Vikings the most disappointing roster in football right now. Harsh, but can anyone really argue? He broke it down point by point, and honestly, he just said what most fans have been thinking. He reminded everyone that this team spent big, the second largest free agency investment in the league. Expectations were sky high. The roster was supposed to be strong, stable, and nearly quarterback-proof. Instead, the offensive line can't block, and the defense can't stop the run. Fans look at that and think, all that money for this? It's maddening. Orlovsky went even further, saying the problem isn't Carson Wentz, and it wouldn't be J.J. McCarthy either. The roster is the problem, he said flatly. When a national analyst says that on live TV, it hits hard. It affects perception, locker room morale, and the pride of every Vikings fan. Minnesota shouldn't be getting embarrassed 37-10 on national television. He's right about the injuries. Darisaw, O'Neal, Ryan Kelly, Donovan Jackson, but he also nailed the inconsistency issue. The line's been patched together, the defense is leaky, and even veterans are struggling. When the Chargers' third-string running back rushes for over 100 yards, that's a flashing red light. What stings most isn't the criticism, it's the truth in it. The Purple Faithful expected a contender, not a team that still looks like it's rebuilding. Flores is grinding, O'Connell's preaching lessons learned, but results haven't followed. Orlovsky's final punch landed hardest. J.J. McCarthy won't save this team. That hurts, because fans believed he could be the spark of a new era. But if the foundation keeps cracking, no quarterback can fix it. In the end, this kind of criticism should light a fire. Either the team responds with pride or the season slips away. That's why I'm saying it now. Sunday against the Lions isn't just another game. It's about dignity. It's about proving the Vikings nation still has something to believe in. After all this, you can feel it. The tension in Minnesota has reached a breaking point. Injuries, fines, trade rumors, harsh criticism, it's all stacked up at the worst possible time. It's now or never, and maybe that mix of chaos and pride is exactly what's always made this fan base special. The season can still be flipped, but it'll take heart, grit, and a reminder of who they represent. Drop your comments. This space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes the Vikings nation. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings. Let's go.